Bonsoir, mademoiselles, mesdames et messieurs. Je dis à son grand honneur pour nous gagner le superviseur élection avec nous. Et madame Nanrele Susan Booker, of course. Et Booker, not Booker, B-O-O. Booker is B-U-C-H-E-R, Booker. Now, we know the pronunciation was a Booker, but however, it's Booker. And it's a great pleasure to have her with us. And then she's what I would call the equivalent of what we call an IET-CEP, the Collège électoral provisoire. Là. Donc, c'est lui-même qui, en Palm Beach County, qui supervise toute élection qui est faite dans Palm Beach County. Qui veut dire que, from Jupiter, à Boca, et aussi west of West Palm Beach, qui c'est Belgrade, et South Bay, et puis Delray, les Coifs, etc. Donc, je dis à nous allons faire une interview avec lui pour l'informer le public haïtien, non seulement de qui nous nie, mais comment l'élection faite, on va s'organiser dans le pays. Pour avoir une chance pour tendre, pour comprendre tout, comment nous-mêmes nous avons pattern, nous avons modèle, ces élections nous d'après les gens que lui-même les fait. Parce que ce sont des dames qui sont statisticiens, ils ont un succès et puis ils ont bien fait le travail. Donc, today it's a pleasure to have Mrs. Susan Booker with us, the supervisor of elections. And she's going to talk to us briefly as to what she does, who she is, what she has done before, and to her background. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It's my great honor to be with you today, and I'm so pleased to see that the community is coming together. Seems like a lot of activists. I assumed the responsibility as supervisor of elections in 2009, yes. And prior to that, I served 8 years in the Florida House of Representatives. My major focus has always been on elections and allowing people access, because I believe that your vote is your voice. And I think that everybody ought to be able to explain where they want this country to go by extending themselves to go out and vote. And I think it's a very important position that I get the honor to serve in, because it allows people the ease and access to vote. And my job is to go out and try and educate the voters about the laws and when things are going to be open and how easy it really has become in order to cast your ballot in the United States and in Florida.
Ms. Booker, there seems to be a great change going on in this in Florida per se. And we know in the 1960s, we as black people, and also people of color, whether Hispanic, black, and other Caribbean or other South American people, we work so hard for the Voter Registration Act, for us to really gain access to vote. What seems to be happening? Even though I know you are non-partisan, you cannot take a position, but there seems to be a violation of our rights right now going on. What is going on here? Can you explain to us in a nutshell, briefly, even though we understand your position has to be neutral?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Can you tell us?
Well, I'll tell you, there are some voter laws that are going around the country, and they're actually decreasing the access for voters to get registered, to have access to early voting, to have access to voting by mail. And it appears that these laws have passed in about 14 states. Florida is one of them. They've decreased the number of days that we can hold early voting that is extremely popular with all populations, about 25%, and they've decreased the ability to access a vote by mail ballot by changing the laws 3 times in 3 years, and you have to keep applying for your application. And then they have made it a felony, a possible felony, for an average citizen to go out with a voter registration form and have somebody complete it, collect it back, and bring it to our office. You can now be charged as a felon, which I think is ridiculous. I used to sit outside of Walgreens for many years and register voters, and now it's against the law. You have to become a third party or a bunch of paperwork, and there's a lot of threat to individuals who want to do that as volunteers. I think there has been a concerted effort throughout the United States to try and pass these laws in order to decrease the access to the polls and to voting.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for explaining that to us. But now, what is the strategy? How can we as a people who are newcomers, we are new voters, some of us don't have no history, because in our country, as you know, there was a dictatorship, and then we've been going through a process, and every time we are voting in Haiti, it's always a big fight. But however, here we understand, and I've observed how you managed the last one that we had in 2010. But what is it that we can do now as far as in organizing our people to get them to really pre-register and for the absentee ballot, and also for the day? I'm giving you all three subjects to cover, and the day of the vote,
Right.
and when the vote is open and when it closes, and why is that you structure the vote that way?
Well, we're working very hard in our office to make sure that these laws don't have the tremendous impact that was designed. And so in terms of early voting used to be 15 days. The law now only allows us to be open 8 days. But it gives the supervisor discretion to be open either 6 hours or a maximum of 12 hours a day. In Palm Beach County, we will be open 12 hours every single day, and we are increasing the number of locations that we have for people to come to make it just as easy as it was with the 15 days. In terms of voting by absentee ballot, we have very easy ways. You can call us, fax us, email us, or fill out a very simple card to request a ballot by mail. And then on election day, we have 463 locations in Palm Beach County, and you have to go vote at your polling location. Once you register to vote, we send you an information card, and it gives you that address. If you have any questions, you can always call us. We have hundreds of people on a telephone bank. And I will offer that my office is always available because of these new voter registration laws. We want to keep your community out of trouble. So if you have a meeting and you want to register voters, all you have to do is give our office a call about a week in advance, and we will be there. As election officials, those laws do not apply to us. So there are many ways that we can go. We have to adhere to the law, but we will make sure that the law does not impede the citizens of this community from access and ease to voting.
I heard you say before, for the new people who are becoming citizens, and that you also go to them also at the immigration during the ceremony?
Yes, we do. We have a deal with the person who's in charge of immigration swearings in Palm Beach County. They happen every Monday. There's about 100 to 150 people there every time. And I would say that we get about 99% of the population that are new Americans being sworn in that day that actually register to vote right there on the spot. We have people there every single time, and we have had since I was elected to office. I believe it is extremely important, and it is one of the hard-earned rights that those brand new citizens have earned.
Okay, so we will encourage people who are becoming citizens to, as you are coming out of the ceremony, Ms. Booker and her team, you may not see her, but you'll see her team there, and then where you can register to vote. So we will encourage you to do that. Am I right? Then?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. There was something else to talk about, and a lot of us are not really, I would say, knowledgeable of this thing. Like as far as redistricting, for example, we know about the gerrymandering.
Yes.
However, I was one of the person who was really upset for one thing. A person like RCST, who became a congressperson. And I remember when I first moved to Palm Beach County, before you became a representative, and there were no really black people represented in the commission. So, and I believe through gerrymandering, they were able to, for example, this woman from Belgrade became the commissioner.
Yes.
And also a person like RCST become a congressman. Even though we know the redistricting will have more Democrats to the poll, but don't you think it would affect people of color because of the fact that they used to, I would say, create a certain kind of enclave for us to be able to become congressmen and congresswomen?
Well,
do you have any view of that?
I do.
Okay.
I was the first Mexican American ever to serve in the Florida House of Representatives, so I understand your concern.
Yes.
And I will tell you that what has been done in the past is that there's something called packing. I have a friend who runs in Tampa. She's African American in the state Senate. She wins her district by 92% because what they've done is they've packed as many Democrats into her territory as possible in order to make very conservative seats in the surrounding territory. And so the current law will not allow to decrease those minority dominant locations. What it will do is it will provide that you're not able to protect a particular party or a particular incumbent, somebody who's already in office. So there should be no concern that any minority access seats will go away. We just want them a little less packed, because if the districts were drawn properly, there are 555,000 more Democrats in the state of Florida than there are Republicans. But it's interesting to find that 3/4 of the Florida House, 3/4 of the Florida Senate, and 3/4 of our Congress people are of the Republican Party.
That's right, that's right. But anyway, so you can equivocate, categorically, certainly that it will not damage, it will not affect us as people of color becoming congressmen and congresswomen.
No, I believe strongly that the current laws, and particularly the laws that the citizens passed last year, do provide for minority access seats, and they will continue to provide for that. And what it wants to do is discontinue gerrymandering. We have a congressional seat that goes from Jacksonville to Orlando. That's about 300 miles. And we want to discontinue that. We want to discontinue those packed seats so that there's a little fairer balance in each one of the districts.
One last thing on that subject. A person like Allen West, we're not talking about him personally, we're talking about the district that you represent. It seems like to go from all the way from all the way from Broward and come to Boca and then Jupiter. So would that probably ameliorate or modify that somewhat?
Oh, absolutely. That's a perfect district to look at to show that it actually starts in Broward and goes all the way to our county line up in Jupiter. And that's a perfect example of a gerrymandered seat.
Okay.
That seat was designed to safeguard the congressman who served 2 times ago, and it just frankly didn't work. But I will tell you that I have been watching redistricting very carefully. We have a great representative from here in Delray, Mac Bernard. Representative Bernard is my contact on redistricting, and he's working hard to protect those minority access seats and make sure the legislature follows the law with the redistricting.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank you on that because it's very informative. Because I myself, I was kind of murky about this thing about redistricting. So I felt like even though we needed it, but I felt like we couldn't be damaged by it.
Well, I know that's what certain individuals are going out there trying to scare people.
Right, exactly.
And that's been the tactic with many issues at the Florida legislature. I will guarantee you that I would not be supportive of decreasing minority access seats because I think that our representation should reflect the community.
But thank you for the clarification. And one last point, and you did quote in the statistic of 20,000 non-Haitian American voters. Okay. I just wanted to say, although there may be 20,000 that because they're the one that check say they are, but we also have their kids, their sons, their daughters, who does not see, even though they're Haitian American, who does not equate themselves as that, identify themselves as that. So I just wanted you to be aware. So there may be much more than 100,000 people. I would say at the state, not Palm Beach County.
Well, I will tell you that we have a tremendous population of Haitians and Haitian descent here in Palm Beach County. And today it gives me great pleasure to be here because I see that people are getting organized. There's a very important election in the 2012 year, and I'm very pleased that all communities, but most particularly this community, is starting to come forward. And I'm hopeful that in the future, some of these leaders that we see sitting at these tables today will be our state representatives, our state senators, and our future Congress people.
Okay, definitely. But lastly, I'd like you to more or less summarize for us as to the votes happening, the 2012 vote, and then as to what do you see, how we can better prepare our community, and just a little bit of a nutshell to summarize for us, and then we want to thank you for everything that you do.
Well, thank you. I think that, the most important thing is for people to be prepared. You can't change your address at the voting location anymore, so they have to make sure that every time they change residence, they update their voter information. And you can vote early, but only 8 days, not 15 days. You can vote by mail by very easily calling us or filling out a form. And the elections the primary election next year is August 14th. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then we'll be back on November 6th. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And if there's any questions whatsoever, I need people to call our office. We have a phone bank always, many days before the election, and we have people who speak all of the languages that are necessary.
So let me quote you on that now, because I've heard some Haitians say to me, "Oh, they used to call me up to do to work on the voting, during voting." During the vote, they have not called me. So you do have orders, unquote.
We have a tremendous population of
Okay.
people on the telephones and people at the polling locations that speak English, Spanish, and Creole.
Okay, good.
We also have an audio way to vote where we can put earphones on you and you can listen to the ballot and vote and it'll be in Creole, Spanish, or English.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Ms.
you
Booker.
very
And it
much.
was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
And you are a great guest, and thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you for everything you're doing.
So those of you who are watching in the Caribbean, we have had Ms. Susan Booker, who is the supervisor of elections. In Haiti, it's called the CEP. She's the one that supervises, however, and she has the responsibility and carry out the mandate from the state and also from the county. And I would use the word, and has integrity. She fulfills her needs, her responsibilities in a good manner, and then so far no reproach from no one, no other candidate saying that she took sides, and she remained neutral, even though I remember she used to be from my party without saying anything. Thank you, Ms. Booker.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.